With December ACT coming up this weekend, many students are stressing about testing and trying to cram in some last-minute prep. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys 10 last-minute tips for how to improve your score with minimal studying. We're going to talk about some of the most heavily tested and important grammar rules for the ACT English section, some of those challenging math rules for the ACT math test. I'm also going to give you guys some expert strategies and tips for the reading and science tests. So make sure you grab a pen or pencil and some paper, take some notes, pay attention because you're not going to want to miss these or you'll get these questions wrong on test day. Let's start with matrices. And matrix addition and subtraction is one of those topics that tons of students get confused on in the ACT, but it's actually super easy. It's just basic arithmetic. You just have to stay in the same place in the matrix. So as an example here, if I'm adding these matrices, look top left to start. -5 plus 10 gives us 5. What about top right? 4 plus 7 gives you 11. All right, you ready for a practice question? Nice and simple. So matrices A and B are displayed below. If matrix C is 2A plus 2B, which of the following gives us C? Well, let's just start by solving for the top left of our matrix C. It's 2A, so the top left of A is 1, so 2A is going to be 2, plus 2B, well, 2 times 4 is going to be 8, so what we need to see is the top left of our matrix should have a 10. So we can tell, if we look at the answers already, the correct answer is going to be C. Nice and simple. You'll see questions like this early on the ACT. They're super easy points. You'll definitely get this right on test day now. Now, for more advanced matrix questions, the ACT may test you on matrix multiplication or how to find the determinant of a 2x2 matrix. If you want to learn how to do those more advanced questions, you can check out the link to my free trial below of my Ultimate ACT course, where I'll teach you guys exactly how to do that, again, in the free trial, no credit card needed. The ACT also loves to give you these little coding questions like number 31 here. It's asking for the code for each item in this grocery store is 4 characters long. Each code has 2 letters followed by 2 numbers. So it has to be letter, letter, number, number. No codes contain letters O, W, or Z, or 0, or 2. We're trying to figure out how many different ones are possible. Super easy way to solve this. Give yourself a visual like I did here, and then just think how many options are there at each spot. Well, here it says we can't use letters O, W, or Z. There's 26 letters in the alphabet, so that leaves 23 more choices. Now, it says these may be used up to 2 times, so I can repeat this and say there's also 23 options here. If I couldn't repeat it, then it would be 22 options at this point. What about the numbers? Well, there's 10 numbers, 0 through 9, that can be placed there, but we can't use 0 or 2, so there's 8 options. We can use it up to 2 times, so there's 8. All we do now is multiply these together to find the possibilities, or here, just pick the answer that matches the one we got. Correct answer is C. All right, let's learn our first grammar rule today. This is going to help your ACT English score increase. Now, this is called the names rule, and I can promise you 2 things. Number 1, you probably don't know this rule right now, and number 2, almost guaranteed you're going to see this on your test this weekend. So, what is the names rule? It has to do with when we do or don't put commas around a person's name. So these 2 examples we'll use to kind of learn it. My friend Kelly recently moved to London, and my best friend Andrew is a certified scuba diver. So why does Kelly have no commas and Andrew have commas? Well, it has to do with what I call the identifier, the thing before the person's name, the friend or the best friend. If the identifier in the first one, if it's not specific to one person, like my friend or Olympic gold medalist or US astronaut, we don't know which person we're talking about, we have to keep the name. You only put commas around the name if we're specific to one person. Like my best friend, that's just one person, we can put commas. So if you memorize this rule, then questions like number 12 down here will be easy. English architect Andrew Rollins and Swiss engineer Melissa Voss. Well, how many English architects are there? There's a bunch of English architects, so no commas. How many Swiss engineers are there? Well, there's a bunch of Swiss engineers, so no commas. Once you know the rule, makes these super easy. Our correct answer here, with no commas in C, is C, and hint, hint, this is usually what they look like on the ACT. So if you kind of remember this video but don't quite remember the rule, just remember this right now, which is if you see names like this in the ACT with stuff before it, like an identifier introduction, and then the name, it usually has no commas for the correct answer. Now let's talk about sentence structure for the ACT English test. Sentence structure is one of the most heavily tested topics on the ACT, and it's one students often struggle on because you want to go with what looks right or what sounds right, but you don't actually know the rules. Once you learn the rules, these questions become much easier to get right versus wrong. So we can see the rules quickly right here. I'll explain some of these as I go through and answer 2 questions below. So the first one, the roller coaster is opening next week. The wait time is expected to be over 4 hours long. Well, this is incorrectly written because currently it's an independent clause before and after, and you can't connect two independents with just a comma. That's something called a comma splice. B doesn't work either. A semicolon is used between two independent clauses, and the with here makes the second part not a complete sentence. It's not independent. C doesn't work because we would need a comma here with the and. You can't connect two independents with just a word like and. D is our correct answer because we're allowed to have two independents separated by a period. What about the second one? In August 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, resulting in over 1,800 deaths and $125 billion in damage. Well, a semicolon here again is between two complete sentences. The first part here is independent, but the second part is not a complete sentence, so that's incorrect. B, if I change it to the result was, that would make it independent. We'd have a comma splice, that's incorrect. With C, we have the comma and the and. This is commas and fanboys between two independent clauses. That's going to be correct. And D with a period is wrong because the result being is not an independent sentence and makes the second part a fragment. So again, if you learn the rules like I was using here, it makes any questions like these that might feel hard for you really, really easy on test day. Another advanced math topic that ACT loves to test you on the end of the ACT is law of sines. If you've never heard of this before, law of sines, don't think SOHCAHTOA. This is just a rule for any non-right triangle. So our law of sines we have to memorize is right here. Sine of A over A is equal to sine of B over B. C is equal to sine of C over C. So sine of A divided by the length opposite is the same as sine of B divided by the length opposite, same for C. So we're looking for basically pairs across. So if you see a question like say 24 here, where we see a non-right triangle and we see a bunch of sines, we're going to have to use our law of sines to solve this. So we're trying to find here the distance from Andrew to the trash can in this question. So we're trying to find this side x. We see two pairs. We have 105 and 45 and 55 and x. So using our equation from before, we can say that the sine of 55 degrees over x is the same as the sine of 105 degrees over 45. From here, we're solving for x, so we can cross multiply. You can write this as 45 times the sine of 55 is equal to x times the sine of 105. Now to solve for x, we can divide both sides by sine 105 to get x by itself. And we can see that x is equal to 45 sine 55 over sine 105, which gives us our answer here of E. So this would be an advanced question on the back of the ACT, but as long as you memorize your equation here, you'll be good to go for test day. All right, now let's talk dashes. You've probably never used dashes before in your writing, but I guarantee you will see them this weekend on the ACT. Now, first and most commonly, we're going to see dashes as unnecessary information. They're going to separate information we don't need in the sentence. They usually appear like this and in pairs. So here, if it says umami, an incredible complexity of flavor, and another dash, here, correct answer is C, because the two dashes are basically showing that we can take this out as unnecessary information. You can read the rest of the sentence. Umami is often cited as why certain dishes are so delicious as a complete sentence on its own. Now, for those of you going for perfect scores or trying to max out your score, you also need to know this more obscure rule to put on there. A single dash can act like a colon. So you can learn all the colon rules, also make sure a dash does the same thing. So here, as an example, although many experts believe that cryptocurrency would be the future, Drove believed the opposite, it would quickly die out. Here, the correct answer is C with the dash, because we have a complete sentence before and then after the dash is basically giving an explanation or clarification of what Drove believed. Students also often get stumped by averages question. While averages seem simple, the way the ACT presents it can be tricky. So what about something like this right here? It says the mean of 6 people at a graduation dinner is 40. When the oldest person, who is 95 years old, leaves the table, what is the mean age of the 5 people remaining at the table? Okay, so here, this one seems, again, kind of tricky, but what we're going to do is work backwards. We can use our average. So we'll start with all 6 people. I know that the average is 40 originally, and we have some unknown sum divided by 6. Well, what that means is that the sum of everyone's ages before the oldest person leaves the table is going to be 240. Now, when the 95-year-old person leaves the table, we can take away the 95 to find out the ages of everyone left over, which means there's going to be a total of 145 years left at the table. There's 5 people at the table, so we can divide that value by 5, and we find that the average age is going to be 29. So again, I know I made it look easy, but you've got to know how to go backwards on the ACT for average questions like this. For the ACT reading, I'm going to give you a quick pro tip to help you understand what makes answers right versus wrong. And these are really just two main principles. Principle number one here is that the correct answer must be supported by evidence in the passage. There's always something that you can point at in the passage to make your answer choice correct. I always like to say, put your finger on the evidence. If you can point to why your answer is correct, you probably have the correct answer. The second one, it's even more important, is the correct answer has to be 100% correct. That's right, every single word has to be correct, which means any little thing wrong with the answer choice makes the entire thing wrong. I described the ACT reading as a Where's Waldo. If you've ever done a Where's Waldo, you know he's in there somewhere. It's really, really hard to find a little detail. Once you find the detail in the passage, you'll be like, oh, I get it, the answer is A. The challenge is, how can you manage time effectively and find him consistently? Or if you can't find Waldo, if you can't find the evidence, how can you look at the answer choices critically and make sure you find the right one as consistently as possible? So again, here, try and find that Waldo, try and find the evidence in the passage, but also, if you're between answer choices, be picky. Make sure whichever answer choice you're picking is one that you really think is 100% correct. For ACT Science, I have 3 quick little tips for you. Tip number 1 is ACT Science is not really science, so don't expect it to feel like biology or chemistry class. It is a reading, charts, and graphs test. Tip number 2 is don't try and read everything when you get to an ACT Science passage. It is usually easier for most students to go straight to the questions and work backwards. And tip number 3 is whenever we see a question like this, which you'll see a couple times in your test probably, whenever we see the answer choice with this less than, between, greater than, it means we're looking at an approximation question. If I was looking at this one, based on table 2, the vapor pressure of 1 pentatannamine at 11 degrees Celsius would most likely be where? Well, what this is telling me, first of all, go to table 2. The ACT is trying to help you and tell you exactly where to go. And then number 2 here, we're doing an approximation question. We're probably not going to find 11 degrees on the graph. So don't look for 11 degrees. Look for where 11 degrees is going to fit above or below other data points. So here again, when we see these answer choices, you should know that the exact data point, the 11 degrees, is not going to be shown in the data. Maybe you have to go look for 10 or 15 or 20 and find what 11 is near. Then you'll be able to tell which answer is correct. Finally, let's talk about time management and pacing. Properly managing your time and pacing yourself is one of the things that students struggle with the most on the ACT, especially if it's your first ACT or if you haven't taken any full-time practice tests. Now, one really important recommendation is make sure that you wear a watch on test day. Make sure it's not any smartwatch that can text, but just a simple watch. Also make sure it doesn't have any alarms or beeping. A great trick for the watch is at the start of the section, just set it to the top of the hour. So you say you set it to like 12, and then you just click it in and let it start once the section goes. So if you check your watch and it says 12:15, you're 15 minutes into the section. It makes it really easy for you to keep an eye on where you are as the sections go. It's also important to know the pacing. For English, you want to take 9 minutes per passage. English is broken down into 5 sections with 15 questions each. So at the end of each section, just check your watch, see where you're at. If you're a little bit behind pace, you can speed up a bit, but hopefully be on pace or ahead of pace. Math is 60 questions, 60 minutes. So on average, it's 1 minute per question, but the questions go easy to hard. So you definitely want to be ahead of pace early and you'll have more time saved up for later. If you want to finish all 60 questions, you should probably finish around the first 35 questions in the first 25 minutes or so. Again, you'll need more time saved up for later questions. Now, the pace of the ACT really picks up with the reading test. The reading test, you're going to have 4 long passages with 10 questions each. You have 8 minutes and 45 seconds for each of those. I just say, remember, around 9 minutes per passage. That'll be an easy way for you to check your watch and see, again, if you are on pace. A great idea this week, if you haven't done an ACT yet or haven't done a practice in a while, to at least do a practice reading or a little section or two to get a sense of how fast 9 minutes is. And finally, for science, you have 6 minutes per passage. You're going to see 5 charts and graphs passages with lots of data and graphs. You'll see 1 conflicting viewpoints passage where it has different students or scientists. That one you'll have to read a little bit more. For the charts and graphs passages, go to the questions more quickly, or a lot of students go to the questions immediately and then come back. But again, remember, you're around 6 minutes per passage. Technically, 6 times 6 is 36. You have 35 minutes per passage. But again, that general pacing will help you stay on pace. It's also important in the ACT to not get stuck. If you're on a question, you're not sure about the right answer, just circle the number, bubble in your best guess. You can always come back at the end. It's really important to keep moving and not get stuck. I'd rather you finish all the questions and have to come back to a couple than have to guess on a bunch at the end. So, hope you found that all really, really helpful. Please don't forget to like, subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Of course, if you're ready to do some more ACT prep to really boost your scores for the test coming up this coming weekend, or for any future ACTs you have, I highly recommend checking out our Ultimate ACT course. The free trial has no credit card needed. It'll have a bunch of tips that will help you start your journey to get better ACT scores.